not the same movie on YouTube?
I'm sorry, Victor, you got cut off by the recording statement. Could you repeat that?
The movie is on YouTube also.
No, well, I don't know about the new one. The old one is. There's
It's
two.
the old one. It's the old one
I see.
from
I thought-
1974.
Yeah, this one just got completed. I think it's done better. I think there's more research. So I would
Okay.
recommend that you go see it.
Yeah, sure. They
and-
also advertise that people are gonna speak.
They
Maybe
did
not
last
also.
Friday. They did last Friday. So I don't know if that will keep happening, but it will continue to play. I think the last Friday there was a panel. Somebody went. I can't remember if that was Renee. Was that Renee?
Yeah, that was me. And it was a very powerful movie, very moving, also interesting in a scientific way, if that's your angle. And the people afterwards were from various genres, such as Dr. Bronner, the grandson of the soap founder. He's an activist that's very involved in just basically making the world a better place.
Yes.
And people that are trying to decriminalize the use of these different psychedelics for medicinal use. There was a UCSD researcher doing different studies on chronic back pain and phantom limb pain. It was very interesting, and it's a whole new world of medicine out there that can be integrated with conventional medicine for good use.
Yep. So that might have been Fatal Zidane. Fatal is one of the leading researchers now, but I don't remember phantom limb pain as his primary. I think he is, well, it could be because he's working with PTSD vets there. Fatal and Pete and I have a very good, important relationship through the UCSD training program. And if it was him, he's a delight. If you don't know about these studies, also, I would please look up Johns Hopkins and Roland Griffiths, who is my favorite guy ever. Roland is someone with fourth stage pancreatic cancer who has been leading some of the studies, is a meditator, longtime meditator. Everything that comes out of Roland's mouth is Dharma, and is a man who approaches his own impending death, as we all have one, with so much grace and ease. So look up Roland Griffiths. He is the lead, and he does a few interviews and talks, and you would be deeply moved and impressed by who he is and what we understand about psilocybin specifically, but other potential plant medicine.
He's a neuroscientist.
Yes, he is. Amazing guy. Lovely, deeply lovely, and a researcher.
I just wanted to say, this is Renee again, one more thing, because it is relevant to what we've been talking about. Basically, this woman that had gone on her different trips at the end, and what they were talking about all the other people as well, is that they felt a basic centeredness with the universe, and a very mindful approach from that day on in their life, as far as taking in the joy and awe, feeling like they'd found their true oneness, and also the oneness with everyone in the world that we've been talking about. We're not all separate, we're all one. And I found that very interesting, that this delving into their deepest self gave them that.
Yes. Isn't that encouraging? there are several people remain unnamed who have investigated and practiced with this substance. And what I will say is that from a neuroscience perspective now, what we understand, it's some of my interests as well, what we understand is that the amygdala, it doesn't only process through the amygdala, there's a neural circuitry advance, and lots of people know about this, yes, that actually expands us. And in our expansion, we see the also particle nature, right, of things, including ourselves and others. So there's no more me versus you versus. Now, the integration work, I will also say, I don't think it's as simple as a trip. I think both prep work and integration work is essential. My commitment is very strongly into the integration work without finding paths to how to live your life every day. Then it just becomes an experience. And an experience alone is not sufficient to cultivate awe, wonder, connection. You have to then make a choice about how to live your life. And by the way, the people that I've been working with have made that choice. It has been significant, and we forget. And we forget. And so then we're always together, right, in the remembering. And that's what our practice is going to be about today. I'm going to read some of the chat because I got a lot happening there, folks. Interesting topic. Yes, dosed. Roland Griffiths, amazing guy. Yeah, Oprah worked with, wow, did not see that. So I'll have to look at Roland's interview. Thank you, Seth. I had never actually seen that interview particularly. I appreciate that. Thank you. And of course, Seth is so sophisticated. He can get the link up there where the rest of us fail. Thanks again. So now I want to talk about awe. And I want to talk just for a moment, and then we're going to practice soaking in the good. One of the things we read in this chapter was that we can have a tendency in our human realities. I'm not going to call these difficulties. They're just what happens, the ever-changing reality of life, the impermanence of life, the nature of its coming and going, and the fact that we can't stabilize the winds, that life is by its nature a flow, and that we are also a part of that, also brings a certain kind of distress, right? Because with all flow comes loss. There are things that are born and things that are dying then every moment. And our tendency then from the brainstem's habit nature is to seek the birthing, to move towards that which is new, fresh, shiny, gimme, and to resist, reject, deny, turn away from, and then not fully experience that which is ending. We have a lot of fear about endings. We have fears about death. We have natural pain, I'll just say, over loss, a part of the reality. And so frequently do not turn equally, as we've been working with equanimity, right? We do not turn with equal attention. We do not turn towards endings, death, loss with equal open-heartedness, because our hearts would break. I guess that's about as simply put as we could make that. And so we don't, because who wants to feel pain? And yet, says these teachings, it is essential for true joy. Uh-oh. Now we've got the rub, right? Really, now we've got the rub. Actually essential for true joy, because you cannot know the preciousness of something, can you? Unless you know the temporariness of it also. Otherwise, meh, a flower's a flower. Right? A flower's a flower. Do you know what I mean when I say this? That we cannot know gratitude, awe, and the preciousness of this human life unless we also know its challenges, its difficulties, and its losses. Right? You get what I'm saying? And we can feel that quiver, can't we? Ugh. I can feel the resistance and the tears in me. I don't want that either. But I don't know another way. In fact, I'm pretty sure, because I've been really good at being able to focus on the good news. I'm really sure it will not prepare us for the whole of this life. And so we're going to have to let our hearts break. And it breaks not only into grief, into sadness, it breaks into awe. It breaks into wonder. It breaks into gratitude. It breaks into joy. And what if we could hold both? In fact, we are that boundless, actually. You are capable of this, actually. Even if you don't think so, you are capable. And so we're going to be practicing with that today. I'm going to read this short thing from, you can't see that, sorry. Let me get myself over to share screen for a second so you can see it with me. Get rid of something. Let's see if we can pull this up. This is from David White. Let's see if we can. Looks like it's going to be more complicated than I feel like letting it be. So let me see if I can read it this way. Here we go. Gratitude is not a passive response to something given to us. Gratitude arises from paying attention, from being awake in the presence of everything that lives within and without us. I guess we could say around us. Gratitude is not necessarily something that is shown after the event. It is the deep a priori state of attention that shows we understand and are equal to the gifted nature of life. It's how you show up to the moment, not the moment impacting you. You get the difference? It's how I arrived to this moment with openness, with curiosity, with interest, with care, with oneness, with all, right? Not, oh, that was so amazing that I got it. You show up with it. And that's a level of attention and open-heartedness. Gratitude is the understanding that many millions of things come together and live together and mesh together and breathe together in order for us to take even one more breath. And you have already forgotten one more breath. This very breath you're taking is by a virtue of a billion factors, plus, of course, infinite, throughout all time. Not just now, throughout all time, this place has been made for you, this life. Even one more breath of air, that the underlying gift of life and incarnation as a living, participating human being is a privilege, that we are miraculously part of something rather than nothing. Even if that something is temporarily pain or despair, we inhabit a living world with real faces, real voices, laughter, the color blue, the green of the fields, the freshness of a cold wind, or the tawny hue of a winter landscape. To see the full miraculous essentiality of the color blue, is to be grateful with no necessity for a word of thanks. And then he goes on to describe other moments. Thankfulness finds its full measure in generosity of presence. What does that mean for you? Generosity of presence, showing up fully, both through participation and witness. We sit at the table as part of every other person's world while making our own world without will or effort. That is what is extraordinary and gifted. This is the essence of gratefulness, seeing to the heart of privilege. The heart of privilege. Thanksgiving happens when our sense of presence meets all other presences. Being unappreciative simply means we are not paying attention. How amazing is that? It simply means we are not paying attention. And so it does not mean there is not despair in this world, right? We do not have to reject any part of this life. In fact, we have to open to it wholly in order to find ourselves in true awe and wonder. And so we'll sit with that. And then we'll look at the chapter. They say, I don't know if it's true, they say that when Joko was dying, and of course her daughter was there, and I think a few longtime teachers. I know that one of she has a very big student whose name is Meiji. I've forgotten his first name right now, but he is a Buddhist monk in New York. He was there, and he said as she was dying, she said, "This too is wonder. This too is wonder. This death, this last moment." Now, knowing Joko, I would say if she could speak, it would be true. My grandfather, near the time of his death, said, "Wow. Wow," before he died. And I was there, so I know that one for sure. So what is that wow? What if we could say wow to everything? What would that be? Wow. Wow, hurts like this. Wow. Amazing like this. Wow. In love like this. Wow. Right? Wow. And maybe I'm going to write that as a practice for us this week. Let's start with wow. And then see what happens. Right? Really? Like wow. And I'd practice saying it out loud. Wow. Here it is. I do say too often, "That's unbelievable." But it's not quite the same as wow. It really means, seriously, how did that get here? I don't know, make that go away. So we're going to shift that frame to wow instead of wow, that's unbelievable, which means I can't believe you're that dumb, which is not the same. Okay, let's practice this together. We had a board meeting yesterday, and we did a little version of this practice. This was one of the first practices also that I did with Jon Kabat-Zinn in our, he did this practice with us at UCSD, so it's one of my favorite. And so finding a comfortable posture, one that just lets the body be whole, be present, shake out any of the kinks there. See if you can't anchor the feet, the knees, the bottom to the floor, the cushion. And letting the rest of the body be wakeful, attentive, and upright. This practice will be more beneficial, I will tell you, if you're sitting. There's a collapse in the chest when we're lying at times, so be careful if you're lying. And then taking a big, deep in-breath as if it's your last and first breath. Breathe it in. And then fully expire that moment, that breath, and then rest. And then we'll do it again. When you're ready, just taking that big, deep in-breath and then a little more. Breathe it in. Let it out. Let the vocal cords vibrate, by the way. The vagal tone, we'll talk about that later, is active. We're going to do it one more time with the big vibration at the end, breathing in. And a big vibrational out. Ha, 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 ha. Oh.
Oh.
Ooh. And offer yourself a boo if you need it there. That boo tone is naturally regulating. And just resting. Resting in the body, resting in the breath. Resting in presence. Remember, we've talked about embodied presence. Presence as known through the whole of the body-mind. So we're not going to disconnect from the body for our attention quite yet. We're just going to see if we can't marry and meld awareness with this body. Breathe. Wow. Wow to this body. To the coolness of these toes, to the warmth of the hands, to the quickened heart rate, whatever is here for you. Wow. And see how the wow opens you. Invites you in and closer to whatever of the attention has rested upon. And doing your best for these few moments just to stay in the whole body, embodied presence, breathing. And then recollecting for a moment those infinite factors having come throughout all time. And they say from the 10 directions and the 3 times, past, present, and future, to make this place for you. Placing you directly in the family of all things. And it's an essential thread in the fabric of this life. Love incarnated through you right now. This air, this space, this voice, these beings, this shelter, this earth, the waters, rocks, the partners, the children, the friends, all conspiring for you. And see if you can touch into that reality and the way it just explodes the vagal bundle. When you know the truth of it, embodied presence, embodied reality, embodied preciousness, embodied impermanence. It's right here. Wow. And then we just let whatever arises arise without judgments or expectation. Gratitude, awe, wonder, goodness does not feel like one thing. Don't look for that. Look for this. What is this? How does it feel? How does it breathe you? A jagged breath, a short one, an easeful breath. Wow. And then we begin to sense, don't we, that there's nowhere else to be. And we become grateful for the reality of this very moment with everything that's in it. breath a gift. Inviting that attention, that openness. Which only then leads to connection, participation, belonging, bearing witness. Love. And we settle back a little more. And we bring that loving presence to this breath. And we soak in the good. One moment, one breath at a time. We remember the goodness that is already here, that is wholly present, and that cannot be diminished. Good in me, the good in you, and the good in this world, alive this moment. It's everywhere. Feel held by it and hold it. Breathe. Quiet is as beautiful as the sound. Form is as beautiful as the formless. But it can only be ingested one breath dose at a time. goodness that is already here. And you have done nothing but be attentive and present and wholly open-hearted. And that's everything. And so we settle back a little bit more, nowhere else to go. We climb into the body a little bit more. We open the attention and the heart a little bit more. This is it. There is no medicine to take bigger than this. And then I would like you for a moment simply to recollect a moment in which you felt completely connected, grateful, in awe or wonder. They open us. A moment in nature, a moment in connection, a moment in love. Recollect it completely. Breathe it in from the imagery or vignette in mind. Breathe it right into the heart space, right into the heart. Remembering this as vividly as you can. A moment where time became timeless. Where there was nothing else. Where you were fully immersed and soaking in the goodness. You and this world. Embodied loving presence. And for some people, they don't land well on one experience. There's just maybe the directory of experiences. And this is just as fine. Moments of gratitude, awe, joy, ease. And simply let them come. Immerse yourself completely. Drink it in through every pore. Rest in that gratitude and that wonder. Let it breathe you. And in the beholding of the truth of this, you are also an essential part. In the recollecting, in the holding, in the breathing, you are keeping that goodness, that boundlessness alive. Right here, right now. Soaking in the goodness of this life, this world, without minimizing the challenges. Not required. In fact, are very willing. Can you feel it? To hold that too makes this life, makes this heart mind bigger. And the preciousness becomes more precious. The love becomes more unconditional. The gratitude becomes deeper, more abiding. The wonder is everywhere. And may this awakened heart, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, in each moment, in each breath. And where it has arisen, may it grow and flourish evermore. So that all we can rejoice a moment, adjust the body. Let's stay in awe. So right now, just check in right now. I'd like you to offer a word. Write the word or come on and say the word. What's the word? What are you noticing right now?
Love.
Love.
Open space.
Open.
Greatness.
Yes, greatness.
Openness.
Open. Do you notice now we're open to everything? Can you feel that? Doesn't mean it's pleasant. Doesn't mean, but how we arrive will help determine what comes. It doesn't mean it's not hard or painful or scary. Doesn't mean it's not confusing or distressing. But there is a capacity in all of those words to hold it. Isn't it? This too is wonder. How do we hold it all? This is our essential Dharma practice. How do we hold it all? Thank you. Anything else before we turn towards the questions that I had already intended to send to most everyone? I think I've gotten most everyone on here. I hope that was my goal. I hope I did that. And we're going to look at those now along with the chapter. Let me pull up those for us. And I'm going to try to put those up so I can see them somewhere. Anybody have those questions? Any of them? Oh, yeah. The computer does not like holding too many things at once. It's older and just cranky.
Di, when you send those, do you send them from Encinitas Mindfulness or you?
Me.
Okay. Thank you.
From me. So look for that. You should be on that list. So here, I'm going to pull this back. Can everyone see the Kindle? Does that look workable? Everyone, hopefully you can see that. This is the last paragraph from chapter 5. I'm going to read it again because it's relevant to where we're going. Life is amazing, and then it's awful, and then it's amazing again. And in between the amazing and the awful, it's ordinary and mundane and routine. And by the way, we frequently don't show up. Breathe in the amazing, hold on through the awful. I would say there's a little more there. And relax and exhale during the ordinary. That's just living, heartbreaking, soul healing, amazing, awful, ordinary life. There it is, right? The whole enchilada, as Jon Kabat-Zinn says, the full catastrophe, right there. And so let's go on to chapter 6. I'm going to see if I can't get those questions somewhere. So if someone has them, hang on to them. I do have them, by the way, also in this text, so we'll be okay. And the name of chapter 6, how can we feel more expansive every day? The expansiveness is a felt sense, right? This open, so somebody said great, the vastness of it, right? Spacious. Did you hear all those words? Weren't they all consistent with that very idea of expansiveness? This is also the truth of our physiology and our neurology, also expanding. There is no contracting happening in gratitude, in awe, in wonder, in love, in presence. So, right? It does. Now, here's an interesting thing. We can even bring that to distress. It is not the conditions of the present moment that defines that openness. It is a quality of heart mind that you brought to the moment. Do you get the difference? It is not the circumstances of the present moment. It is the you that you brought to it. I know nobody likes this, right? Like, no, that was just awful. Yes, it might be painful. It might be hard. We do not have to deny half of our life in order to be in the whole of it. In fact, we can't, can we? And it is holdable. It is something to which we can also be and bring presence. And it is a practice. And yes, I think it's harder than the brain stems have it. I agree. Because just no. Unbelievable, as I like to say, in my no moments, which we've just transcripted to wow, let's open. When we think of awe, we usually think of encountering something that is vast, that thrills us, that is perhaps beyond our full comprehension. We're wrapped, fully present, no part left out, no thought scattered away to our ordinary distractions. Awe can be reflected. I don't know what happened to that page. Oh, here we go. Took it out. Awe can be reflected in, I had something over it. In our bodies with goosebumps or chills, and maybe something more ordinary, right? Maybe just that feeling of expandedness. Here's our first question. Let's go down to the middle of the page. This is page 109. What I think is diminished, though, is not our sense of inherent worth, but our self-preoccupation. Our perception of ourselves in relation to the larger world tilts. In this state, people will sometimes say they feel smaller, less significant, or diminished. What she says is diminished is not our sense of value, worth, or meaning, but our self-preoccupation. We could call that self-cherishing. And here's the first question. Can you sense the size shift when you are no longer caught in the whirlpool sense of small self? I can feel it right in the chest frequently, like the sense of opening versus When is this? When do you notice that? And what are its factors? What is that open, expanded sense versus the contracted sense? And how do you know it? We're going to be looking for it this week. We're lifted up to it through profound connection. When is this? What's the body sensations? We don't feel less than or humiliated, worthless. We don't devalue because we appreciate ourselves as less separate and more interrelated to the larger existence of everything. We're lifted up to it through profound connection. We remember that we're a part of this whole. We remember. She talks about a Hamilton experience and how she was so in awe of the composer and Joseph, very cute. And then on page 111, the top, qualities like awe bring us right to the possibility of holding in our hearts the full blessings of life, as well as life's fragility and evanescence. She means that what? Impermanence, loss, the fact that nothing is holdable, keepable, or permanent. Then we put 100% of ourselves into the present moment, because there then is nowhere else to be, just as we experience today in the practice. She goes on to talk about a friend who is a ceramicist, and the pit firing. I don't know much about that, but I have the sense that the firing does itself, and it does the ceramics in a way that really is beyond imagination, beyond control, beyond. And do we have the courage, I think, there, the bravery, isn't it? A certain kind of fearlessness, and I think a certain surrender, isn't it also? It's not just warrior like don't know how this is going to unfold, but can we risk? We've used the word exquisite risk. Can we risk this arriving to the moment first before we construct it all and have it have to be a certain way? And the answer is frequently we don't. We've got to navigate and construct life because we're afraid of what might happen if we arrive first. Here's a couple statements I thought were important, all in the same paragraph on page 111. We can't force awe, of course, but we can cultivate these states that they're called positive states, but we understand the limitations, right? I've always considered its near cousin interest and curiosity. Someone might say openness. If we're distracted, disconnected from what is happening in past or future, we're not creating the conditions where awe could arise. If we couldn't care less about what is presenting before us, lost in comparison or reflexive judgment, we're not creating the conditions where awe, gratitude, appreciation, interest, or curiosity, right? They're not there. We're just in preferencing, we're just in bias, and we're just in wanting. We call that grasping and craving. I just want it my way. And here's the question here. What mind or mind state gets in the way of your available moments of awe? Distraction, worry, distress, self-cherishing, wanting what I want because I'm looking to cement something. I want somebody to tell me they love me. I want a compliment, I'm making stuff, right? I want to know what I think I need to know because this will appear to establish what? False permanence, false stability, false security. It's not real. I don't care how much somebody says what they say. That doesn't mean it's permanent. It means now, maybe, right? Maybe. She talks about great works of art, the forest, nature, as all being, and also one's life and its generosity and its kindness as all points for awe. And again, awe is a big word. We're going to choose to stay more in gratitude, openness, wonder. Awe's the big angle, I think, on that one. Here's another two questions and paragraphs on page 112. The ultimate measure of health in any community might well reside in our ability to stand in awe at what folks have to carry rather than in judgment of how they carry it. That's big, isn't it? Judgment creates the distance that moves us away from each other. Judgment keeps us in the competitive game as competitors and enemy and other, and is always self-aggrandizing. Awe is the great leveler. Here's the question. What would it be like to stand in awe of a person's struggle, particularly the struggle of those with whom we are having distress, misunderstanding, or conflict? What would it be like to stand in awe of their burden, of their struggle, of their pain, of their confusion, rather than just judge or shut down to it. What would it mean? That's one of the practices for this week. Awe is the great leveler. We must try and learn to drop the burden of our own judgments, reconciling that what the mind wants to separate, the heart should bring together. That's an important statement, isn't it? What the mind wants to separate in its protective enterprise. That's all it is. All judgments are fear, and all fear by its design is designed to protect us. Dropping this enormous inner burden of judgment allows us to make ourselves what God wants the world to ultimately be. People who stand in awe. Our practice of awe empties a room, and suddenly there is space for expansive compassion. It empties the room of all that thinking, of all that separating, of all that opinion making, right? There's very little else there. It's pretty empty, as Dennis said on Saturday. Empty space, open, now can be filled with wonder. Here's the question. Can you recognize your judgments, both those you hold against yourself and those you hold against others, all as burdens, all as weight? Can you feel it? How so? Can you feel every judgment in its contractedness, right? Anybody have one that expanded anything? Nope, you didn't. Can you feel that and recognize the burden, then the struggle to you in that state, that it will not serve you and certainly not anyone else from there. Here is page 113. It's awe-inspiring in and of itself that our bodies even work ever. It's actually quite a miracle, or adapt to work differently, that our consciousness is mutable and that change is possible, and that most times we can get out of bed and have a day. Really? Wow. Let's start there. That we're all sitting here today more well than not, whatever your condition. What is your definition of an awe-inspiring day? What do you need for the day to be inspired by it? That's one of the questions on our chapter 6. What do you need to make this an awe-inspiring day? If you say a good day, then what is that? Because now you're placing the power of your mind body on the circumstances of your day. Remember, we've already decided gratitude, awe, wonder, love is a priori. We arrive with it. We don't get it from the circumstance. It is never true. You are open in a way. Here's page 113. In positive psychology, awe is considered in the same realm as other states: gratitude, serenity, calm, hope, ease, inspiration, pride. Pride not being arrogance, which she talks about this later, and love and loving kindness. Here's the question. Can you sense why these feelings are considered from the same heart? These different emotion words. Can you know why? What's the same? They're all expanding. They're all going to expand the vagal bundle, and in real time. They're going to expand the neural circuitry, real time. Real time. You don't have to wait for the next moment. It's already right there. And so we're going to see if we can't catch those moments. Page 114, positive qualities are not just feel-good states to be enjoyed or indulged in. I thought that was important. They are rather the basis for a broadened scope of awareness, and I think a way of being, by the way, along with a potent sense of capacities we hold within ourselves And by the way, folks, we then act from. Right? Not just held within, we then act from. You could not live it. What would be the, how do you not, you couldn't not do it. It would just be present. Positive qualities. That's why we're going to call them to mind to begin each day this week. Page 114, I love the sense of expansion, of no longer feeling in the grip of the merely conventional or routine, but glimpsing new possibilities, sensing the chance for movement, not being held in, held back, held down, held under. I love the sense of expansion, no longer in the grip. Now, of course, it says of the merely conventional or routine. What made it conventional or routine? You did, not the day. You did one more dish, one more meal, one more drink, one more friend, one more, you did that. That's not the nature of this life. It's not the nature of the day. So I'm having a bad day may mean there's some things in it that are hard or scary or difficult. But who decides what we do with that? That's where so much power and presence can impact. The conceptual connections we make expand. We come up with more and better ideas. We face problems better. We're more creative, of course. This broadening of perspective makes our solutions better. Positivity opens us. It allows us to consider possibilities that are otherwise hidden from view. Remember, the word positivity is limited. We're just using it in its most expanded state. Because then we can get into bads and goods. And in that binary limitation, we will fail. And life will fail us, right? If we're going, this is good, this is bad. How to open to it all is the key to the practice. Apparently, the broadening effect of positive states actively improves our peripheral vision. That's actually a fact, by the way. We have done studies, by the way, where you are actually asked to turn your head as far as you can to one side, just see what you see and come back, go to the other, and then come back, and then just take a moment reflecting on a moment of gratitude, positivity, ease, joy, connection, and turn your head again. You will notice it goes further. You can see more. Yes, it's true. Isn't that crazy and wonderful? I suppose we do feel, see, sense, know, and connect with more. Your positivity and your openness feed on and reinforce each other, creating a buoyant upward spiral within you. Positivity also alters how you see your connections with others. You think we instead of me. And Dan Siegel says we, which I love. MWE, we. We don't have to do this or that at all. In fact, we is the largest container. Do you get what I'm saying? Possible. You don't have to eliminate you. It's not an either or, and we want to be careful not to buy into that. It's both. Here's the inquiry. Where do you tend to get stuck in the me mind instead of expanding into the we mind of intra-connection? Where does that happen? Where do you tend to get stuck in the me versus the we? Fredrickson says, again, positive emotions build inner resources. We know the truth of this. Senses of strength, capacity, creativity, problem solving, as we have already said, that we can draw upon in the present moment. Not just later, but can draw upon in the present moment. Enough is a feast. if you are terrified, if you feel impoverished within, if you feel perpetually humiliated, enough will never seem like enough. If you are in touch with inner strength, energy, uplift, enough is more than enough, like a feast. Can we see the enoughness of our own beings? Can you feel into the truth of that? Even when we are in a moment of difficulty. The enoughness frequently there becomes what? In a moment of difficulty, what's the enough? Still hard. I still don't know. Haven't figured it out yet. Don't have a solution. Nobody seems to be coming to the rescue. Where's the enough then? In the compassion. That's the expansion that I can feel for myself. In the challenge of the present moment. Compassion is a boundless state. You are not limited. And the minute you can open to compassion, other doors and processes and senses and felt sense will also open. Compassion cannot arise in a vacuum sealed room. Here on page 115, but if you can step away from the dictates of the ordinary, we can see reality in a fresh and truthful way. We can access inner sufficiency, even abundance, resourcefulness, a wellspring of energy within that allows us to connect, offer, and create. If we are lost in unworthiness and believe we are never enough, we will not have sufficient energies to fully care for ourselves, by the way, or others. It doesn't mean becoming indifferent. Of course, we talked about equanimity, which is not a state of apathy or indifference at all. And here's the other question at the bottom of page 116. To deny that life has its share of disappointments, frustrations, losses, hurts, setbacks, and sadness would be unrealistic and untenable. No amount of positive thinking exercises will change this truth. So this positivity is not understood as a paste on, as a graft over, as see the good even in a bad situation. It's not actually that limited at all. It's opening into the full reality of the present moment. The full reality of the present moment. Hard for us to do without just gripping the end, the loss, the death, the grief. It's very challenging for us to see the love that is also there and directly within it, by the way. Here's the inquiry. Can you recount a moment in which you tried positive thinking about a difficult situation? You tried the positive thinking, or someone tried it on you. This could also work. You can always get another dog. You could have more children. They say suffering makes you stronger. That which does not kill you, right? Remember, we talked about cliche and platitude as the non-felt reality. It does not deny the present moment or its possibilities. It does not create expectations, demands for feeling differently, does it? It's not required to feel some other way, but can we hold all experience in the light of awareness and compassion, leading to only what? Wisdom, love. That's all that would be its result. And then there is the painful fact, so relevant, that one's body tends not to mount a strong and immune response as we age. There's no way to get right as we age. With all the exercise, doesn't mean we don't do it. With all the good work we do, the body in its impermanence will reveal itself. I love this by Dzongkhney Rinpoche. Woman, I guess, was talking about all the beauty of aging. Also true. The wisdom, also true. being able to let go of externals for the more internal, also true. And so when he says to her, don't just make a poem out of aging. It can be really hard sometimes. Can we hold the whole, not just the part? And this is the practice. This is the Dharma. One thing we don't need is to deny the difficult. We also don't need to be completely defined by what is difficult. No breathing space, backed into a corner, more and more overcome by what is already painful and can soon become crushing if you fall into the well of there is only this. Doesn't mean it's not there. It is another thread course, and it is not all we are. Here's the inquiry. Can you recognize the difficult without being defined by it? What does this require? To not be defined by the challenge, the difficulty, the feelings even of the present moment. We're going to look at that this week. I'm going to go on a little bit. Here's page 117. We would never want to pretend or feel coerced into or directed to assume a quality we are not actually feeling. This is the spiritual bypassing I want to address. I find this is an easy habit to fall into. That's where the platitudes, the cliches, and the grafting on happens. There's no real awe there possible. You have to open to the whole and then feel what is actually there without gripping it, without concretizing it, without saying this is all there is. It is not true, and it hurts like this, right? Is also true. So we have to be very careful, I think. And then we're going to go on to our, she talks about the apnea, email apnea and screen apnea. I have another question here. And then the vagal toning, here's the question for page 118. Do you notice a form of screen apnea in your work or life? How do you deal with it? I actually deal with it, for example, by trying not to get on the screen too much because I do deaden something. I can't feel in connection unless I'm connected. And when I sit in front of the screen too long, I get disconnected from me because I'm attending out like that. So I get out, I have to get up, walk around, get in the garden, touch the dirt, touch the leaves to reconnect first to myself. And I think that's a key to that apnea. We deaden ourselves before we deaden to another. Attention is the most powerful tool of the human spirit. We can enhance or augment our attention with practices like we've talked about, diffuse it with technologies like email, texting, and social media, and alter it with pharmaceuticals. These are all the things, strategies we try to use. We are fully responsible for how we choose to use this extraordinary resource. What is it? Attention and the present moment. And the vagal tone and the practice was inhale for 4. Remember the 4x4 box we would do? This is similar in that we breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 8, rest, right? And so the out and the rest is actually 8. Can you see that? In for 4, hold, we're already holding, out for 8. Those last 2 corners is where you would breathe out to 8. So see how that might work for you. That 4x4 is a very powerful anti-anxiety practice that is easy to revive. The heart math, they talk about and how you can access gratitude, serenity, joy, awe, and wonder at any moment by recollecting where you have felt that before and re-inviting it and its body into the present moment. Or you can open fully to the present moment where awe and gratitude, wonder, and connection are available right here. You don't have to go back to get anything. You can access it right here, just like we did at the beginning of that practice. I'm going to look, I think I have one more question. Yeah, here it is on page 122. Can you make a commitment to a gratitude reflection and list each day this week? Can you feel, sense, and see what the result of recollecting and holding gratitude is? We already know the answer. Let's review that next week. Can you find at least 5 to 8 things to name each day, whether you write it or not, name it out loud, in which you feel gratitude that day? We do know that those who speak gratitude, I appreciate this, I love this, thank you for this, thank you, thank you, thank you, are rest in greater ease, serenity, and well-being than the average. And I love this little thank you, little miracles, thank you, little good things, thank you, little moments of smiling, little instances of joy, little times of happiness. Say thank you. And that's the final practice. Can we say thank you more and more and more throughout our day? And I think we'll stop there because we're almost at time. There's one more inquiry on page 124. Practice saying yes instead of a complaint, criticism, despair. As you hear yourself going no, can you say, what can I open to this moment? What can I open to this moment? I don't like the pain. What can I open to? I have access to medicine. I have access to others who care about me. I have a bed I can lay in. I can make choices about how to be with this. These are all skillful and real resources. I can call and count on others because you can. All right, I think that's it. There's just a few more pages. You guys look through that. She talks about pride. That wasn't the, I would say pride equals a certain kind of self-worth, right? That's the way I would have used that word personally before pride, because it's so bundled, isn't it? With arrogance and preferencing oneself over the well-being of others, that I don't want us to mistake. Okay, we've got some real practice this week. Gratitude in all its forms. What else do I want to say? Greg, we have picked July 11th. I will make that announcement as our St. Andrew's donation day. That is a couple more weeks away. Either gather your items. Most people are preferring to send money to EMC Giving or to me, Venmo. All of that works. It all goes to the same place. And we will keep reminding you between now and July 11th. It looks like we've got an all-day mindful all-day planned for July 29th at the Dome with Pete. That's a Saturday. Whoopee. I'm very excited about that. I think I've written in the website that it's the 22nd. We are not going to do that. So I will make sure that that changes. So be looking forward to that. And I will be in personal retreat July 13th through the 23rd. And everyone is welcome to come up and sit. I will be silent. There will be no guiding. But I believe it will be a beautiful time up there at Quest Haven. We'll keep reminding everyone about those as well. All right, everyone. We've got Dose the Film. We've got Roland Griffiths and a link from Seth. Thank you so much. I can't wait to watch that. And we've got each other. And you're beautiful. practice. So thank you all so much. May we all be happy. May we all be free from fear, from pain, from loneliness, from hunger, from all afflictions. May we all rejoice at our blessings. May we say thank you and wow to everyone. May we be grateful for everything and everyone. And may this practice, this very day, contribute, making it a very good day. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you all. We'll be on chapter 7 next week, but we will be reviewing our gratitude and awe practices before we go on to chapter 7. And I think we'll be all right. Everyone, thank you so much, all of you. If you want to go see Dosed, let me know. Right now, our 2 options are Saturday at 4, well, Friday at 6, Saturday at 4, Monday at 6. And if I get enough people together for one of those times, we'll go together. But it's available, even if you can't happen to do it with us. All right, everyone.